welcome to Polyglot Podcast. I'm Christian, and today we have Bahador Alast, or how do you say your name? Is it Bahador or Bahador?
Well, in Persian, it's Bahador, but
Ah,
here, growing up in Canada, everybody says, people who can't pronounce it that way, they say Bahador.
okay. Bahador in
Yeah,
Iran. And is it Alast or Alast?
Alast.
Alast. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And I asked Bahador because I've followed his channel a few years, and I think that there are also many people who wanted to know about like your language background because you mostly have guests who speak and you don't speak that much. So I think today we will talk maybe half of the time about your background and then maybe half about your language project, your YouTube channel.
Mhm.
So yeah, how does that sound like?
Sounds great to me.
Yeah. So originally you're from Iran, right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Were you born in Iran?
Yes. Yeah, I was born there and I lived there until I was 10 years old. So I finished elementary school. I was almost 11 when my family moved to Canada. I went back to Iran once, a couple of years after in the summer for just a very brief period of time, and that was about it. Since then, I haven't gone back, although I've traveled extensively and I've been to several countries that are right next to Iran, but I haven't gone to the country because of political reasons.
Yeah. So only once since leaving at the
Yeah,
age of 10.
yes.
What was your hometown in Iran?
So I was born in Tehran, although my parents both come from two different cities in Iran. My dad is from Hamadan. He's actually from a very small village in northern Hamadan, which is
Mhm.
predominantly Azerbaijani speaking. So my dad's mother tongue, actually native language, is Azerbaijani, although
Oh,
he yeah. So, and that region of Iran, it's quite common, especially when you're in like rural areas. Like my
yeah.
grandparents, uh, neither one of my grandparents from my father's side spoke Persian very well. Like they prefer to speak Turkish. We say Turkish, but it's Azerbaijan. It's like it's what they speak over there. So that's my dad's background, and then
Mhm.
my mom's background. She's from Qom, which is a city just south of Tehran. It's the most conservative religious city in Iran. And the reason that my parents actually, um, I mean, this like eventually they moved to Tehran, and that's where we were born.
Yeah. Do I remember correctly that Iran has more Azeri speakers than Azerbaijan itself?
Yes, yes, that's correct. Yeah, the the number of Azerbaijani speakers inside Iran is higher than the Republic of Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
Although I
Um,
should mention that many people who are of, come from northwestern Iran, where their parents or their grandparents spoke Azerbaijani. A lot of them will move to Tehran, and after a generation, it's not uncommon for them to stop speaking the language, especially because people in Iran, there's a lot of mixed marriages between different ethnic groups. So, they move to Tehran, they will marry somebody from a different ethnic background, and their children just speak Persian, right? So um, this is something that is causing a major shift in the demographics like, in terms of people who speak the language.
yeah. What languages your parents and maybe grandparents spoke besides their mother tongues, which were like Azeri and Farsi in
Persian.
your,
Yeah. So that's basically what they spoke. I mean,
yeah.
my grandparents on my mother's side, they only spoke Persian. And then my grandparents on my father's side, they spoke Azeri, and their Persian, I would say with my grandfather, it was actually very limited. Like he preferred not to speak Persian just because it was not it was difficult for him. but he could understand and communicate, right? Obviously, when it comes to my uncle, and that see the reason for that is because they never went to school.
Mm,
Um, so like today, if you go to that part of Iran, everybody speaks Persian because they go to school and the official language is Persian, so they learn the language. But in that during that generation, a lot of people didn't go to school, so they only spoke the language that they were uh, raised with, which, depending on what the region was. And that's why they never really properly learned to speak Persian. But obviously, that's not the case with any of my uncles, right? Or my aunts.
yeah. But what about Arabic? Did they know Arabic at all?
No, no. So this is something that maybe a lot of people are not aware of. Although Arabic is taught as, it's like elementary Arabic. It's not like you're not really going to learn to speak Arabic fluently. In
Hmm.
high schools in Iran, it's, people will get a basic understanding of Arabic, but it's not common among Iranian people to actually speak Arabic as a third or second or whatever language. With the exception of, obviously, there's an Arabic speaking minority in Iran that lives primarily in the south western side of the country, but that they represent about 1 or 2% of the entire population of the country. But that's their native language. Those are actually uh, their their mother tongue is Arabic. So other than that, when it comes to the general population, it's not very common for people to speak Arabic. Uh, Although, like I said, because of what is taught in high school, uh, most people will have some form of basic understanding of Arabic. But if they're not interested in it after a few years or something, they forget that either. They forget that as well.
Yeah, that's what also my language buddy from Iran told me. Like we practice Swedish. I help him with Swedish, and he helps me to learn some Persian. So it's a language
Mhm.
exchange. And he said the same. But I was just wondering about like your parents and grandparents' generation because these language things vary depending on the generation. And yeah, like
Mhm.
he said the same. He doesn't speak at all Arabic, and he said most of
Yeah, then
his
like I said, I
yeah.
mean, there's that basic uh class where it's like you learn the basics of Arabic and you can continue with that if you wish, but the majority of the people they don't. I mean, people today will learn English as their second language. They're going to pursue that a lot more, obviously. And then after English, French is another popular language as a third language, but Arabic is not that popular. And I'm not saying this because I have anything against the Arabic language.
Mhm.
I love Arabic. I think it's a language that's had so much influence and impact on so many different languages around the world. I love reading about it. I love reading about its history. I can if different dialects of Arabic. I'm very interested in it, but I'm just trying to paint a picture of the general population in Iran and the fact that they are not as interested in learning Arabic as they are of, say, other languages. Like I mentioned, after English, there are other languages that they prefer to learn.
Yeah, yeah. Among your family, did you speak only Farsi, or do you also understand Azeri?
No, we only speak Persian, Farsi. And just to clarify for people who are watching, I mean, the term Farsi, that's just the endonym for the Persian language. It's like saying Espanol or Spanish and Espanol, or you can use it for many different languages. A lot of people mistakenly think that Farsi is just the Persian language spoken in Iran, which is not true because when I speak to people from Afghanistan or from Tajikistan, when we're speaking among each other, it's very common for us to refer to the language as Farsi.
Yeah.
Uh, it's not like they say, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are people who will refer to it as Tajik and Dari and
Yeah.
Farsi, but most commonly when we talk to each other, we call the language Farsi, but then in the English language, it's called Persian. So it's just
Mhm.
something to clarify for for people because I come across many people who don't really understand this or they're not as informed about it. And yeah, to answer your question, yes, we really only spoke Persian among ourselves, like with my cousins and people who are from the Azerbaijani side and people who are from the Persian side. And uh, this is the norm when you're in a city like Tehran, where people come from like Kurdish backgrounds, from Baluch backgrounds, from Arab backgrounds, Persians, Armenians, Azerbaijanis, and so many different groups of people whose native language will be something different, but among each other, everybody just speaks Persian.
Mm, yeah. And in school, what languages did you learn, and maybe what languages were available for students?
Well, as a elementary.
Yeah, in Iran before moving to Canada.
So when I was there up to grade 5, where you don't really learn you don't learn other languages. I
Yeah.
mean, from a very young age, because of the regime that's in power right now, they force religion, ethics, the Quran, all of these things from a very, very young age. So you have to learn all of that stuff in elementary school. But when it comes to language, there's nothing. We don't really learn anything until in high school, which I wasn't in Iran for. By the time I moved to Canada, where, as you know very well, French is the language that is taught, and it's not mandatory once you go to high school, so you can pursue it if you want. I mean, there's French immersion, so that's different. But for just the regular classes, like high schools, when you're in high school, you don't have to continue learning French. But
Mm,
up to a certain grade, yes, we take French. That's one of the mandatory courses.
yeah. When you moved to Canada at the age of 10, was Persian the only language you spoke? How was it moving to Canada?
Yeah, for actually at the time I hadn't um even like I couldn't speak any English. Like this at this time, like this generation of Iranians is very different. There are people right now in elementary school who I wouldn't say like are perfectly fluent in English, but they understand quite a lot. And once they move to Canada or to an English speaking country, within a matter of weeks, they become fluent because they're very young and it's very easy for them, like when you're like 7, 8 years old or something. But for me, I didn't speak any English, even though I would say the transition was not very difficult because I was 10 years old and
Hmm.
I was very eager to learn. So even before I started uh, school, because we moved to Canada during the summer, just by going out to the park and
Yeah.
meeting people and chatting and stuff, I'd already picked up the language to some extent. So when I went to school and I started grade 6, it was a very quick and easy transition.
Yeah. Was it in Toronto where you live now?
Yes, yeah, yeah. So we moved to actually this area in the North York part of this is what's part of Toronto, and at the time that area was, and it still is to some extent, but not as much. But it was a very major like enclave of recent Iranian immigrants.
Mm. So you had a lot of friends also from Iran in the area.
Yes, yes. Despite that, I'm saying I mentioned that because despite that, I still was able to quickly pick up the English language. But so you can imagine if people move to like a region where they can't even speak Persian to anybody, then they probably pick it up a lot quicker, right? Considering the foundation that many people have, because I've seen it now. I see like families that move to Canada and their children are, 8 years old, 7, 8, 9, in that age range. And they come here and just go straight to school. And I see them after like a month, they have, friends from different backgrounds and they're speaking English, perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, did you learn French at school?
Yes. So up to grade 9, I continued to learn French, and um, after that, I didn't take French. So I can't speak French, but listening to a French conversation, listening to people speak French, a lot of times I can understand what they're saying, but mm, I don't speak French. Like I
Hmm.
would never say that I'm a French speaker. I can speak the language or even
Yeah.
understand it. I can just uh, pick up parts of it. But then the same goes with other languages, say like Turkish, for instance, or Hindi, or even Arabic.
Hmm.
Sometimes I can listen to people and I just will understand some parts of what they're saying.
And are those also languages that you have maybe dabbled with or studied a bit on your own, or?
So yes, especially when I'm doing like research for the videos that I make. But to be honest with you, my interest is more about the history of languages and how they influenced each other, how they impacted other
Mm,
languages, other cultures, and how they were influenced. Because I just love history so
yeah.
much. I love to learn more about it. I love that so much more than
Mm,
to, diving deep into learning how to speak the language.
yeah.
So in the process, I end up learning a lot of words, maybe not so much the grammar and the structure of the language, but I learn a lot of different words, and that itself will help me like at times pick up what people are saying in a different language, or to be able to understand at least, okay, they're speaking this language, they're speaking that language, but to be actually to actually be able to talk to them or to be able to converse or anything of that, not so much. It's more my passion and love for the history and the uh, impact and influence of languages on one another.
And when did you become interested in history?
Uh, History, I feel like I always had this interest. Even when I was a child, I remember I would like pick up, you know, books about like,
Mm,
at the time it was different. Like there was no internet. You couldn't really just like go and like research something. So every time I saw something that it was about like this historical figure or something, I wanted to go read and kind of like learn more. I became more in love with the history of different countries as I grew older, and I there's a period in my life where I was traveling, constantly traveling, thanks to my job and the opportunities I had to travel, and also at the time I was didn't have kids, I was single. For a
mm,
few years I just like was going all over the world, and the more I traveled, the more interested I became in how these cultures and these languages evolved. When you go to different places, and then a lot of times I would be somewhere and I would hear people speaking a certain language, and I just found it so interesting that hey, like they're saying this, they're saying that, and I can understand certain words. And this got me the idea of making these videos was sort of born there, where I was like, it wouldn't it be interesting to just like compare these two languages and see like if I'm amazed by it, like probably other people would be interested too to see like,
mm.
hey, look, this language and that language, they have these words in common. When they say this here, even like certain like slang or things like that. So eventually, like later, when I met my future wife, we talked about like these things, and the idea of making it into like videos on YouTube
Mhm.
was sort of like a joint, because I'm sure you've seen like the early videos we made. It was always Shahrzad, my wife, was one of the participants. She was
Yeah.
always the one that was representing the Persian language. Whereas like when the channel grew, there was so many other people who wanted to take part. So she kind of just said, "Oh, let other people do it instead." But yeah, so that's basically how we started to make these videos.
What year was that? Was it like,
2017,
oh,
2017, but
yeah.
at the time it was like in late 2017 we made was like a late summer, so it was like I think August of 2017. We made the first, yeah, it was August. So we made the first video, but it was not like the channel didn't really grow obviously that quickly. So we just made it just, it was between Persian and German actually with a friend. And we're like, oh, they say this word and that word in German, and we say the same thing in Persian. So we made that video, and then we made a few other ones with comparing Persian to other languages. And that's when I noticed, wow, this is interesting. Like there are more people watching this stuff, and it's not just like some friends and family watching it on YouTube. There, I can see there's other people coming and subscribing and commenting on these videos. So maybe we should kind of keep this up because we love doing it. It's fun. And at
Hmm.
the time we lived downtown in Toronto, had friends from everywhere around us, right?
Yeah.
From different backgrounds who spoke different languages. So I started inviting different people. I'm like, hey, you speak this language. Do you want to like do this? Look at
Mhm.
this video I made. And then most people obviously they're like, oh, this looks fun. Sure, I
Yeah.
take part. And then they would tell their friends, they would tell their, other people that they know, their coworkers. So that's how initially like it started to grow and how the videos were made. So if you look at all the earlier videos from like 2017 to like maybe mid 2018, it's usually like that. It's people that we knew, like friends, or it was friends of friends, or people they knew, whatever. And then as the channel grew, there were people who lived in Toronto, subscribers here, who would say, hey, I watched these videos and I speak this language. I'd like to like, take part in a video. And that started to happen more often when I noticed that, oh, if this is the case, maybe I should promote it more. So I start promoting that we are in Toronto. If you're here within the greater Toronto area, or even like somewhere where you can travel to come here and join us for this, you know, and what's interesting is when we did that, there were actually quite a few instances where people travel from really far places, and they made a
How
trip out of
far?
it, right?
What was your
So there was
farthest
one
place?
case where someone came from California. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's actually a few cases from the U.S., but the one in
Yeah.
California, he was the furthest. Um, there was somebody who he lived in the UAE, but he worked for an airline. So he said sometimes they have trips that
Mm,
he comes to Toronto and he's in Toronto for like 2 days.
yeah.
And he's like, if one of those happens, he's like, I'll keep trying to get on one of those flights. So he eventually did. Like he's like,
Yeah.
oh, next month I'm getting on this flight that comes to Toronto. Can I be in one of your videos? I'm like, of course, yeah, sure. So in that case, he didn't just exclusively travel for the video, but it worked out.
Yeah. Uh, you're an engineer by education, or
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you always had a day job, and you still have, and this project was a like hobby and still is, right?
Yes, yeah. So I for 15 years I've been working as an engineer. I'm a mining engineer. So I used to, I mentioned before about like my previous job allowed me to travel so much. So I used to travel for work to like the northern part of Canada, the Northwest Territories, and I worked for 2 weeks and then we were off for 2 weeks. So basically a lot of jobs where it's like at these remote mining camps. So that's how it works. You go away for an extended period of time, and then you're off for an extended period of time, which is the to me is like the best job in the world when you're
Mm,
single, when you don't have
yeah.
any like commitments or nothing that's tying you down. So it was great. At the time I would work for 2 weeks, and then I would be off for half the month, and I would keep traveling. Now my job is here in Toronto. I still work in the same field, but you could say thanks to COVID, a lot of things have changed. So I'm able to just work from home and not actually travel to the mine sites. So I still work in the same field, but I do all my design work and all the activities that I'm doing right here, and I just kind of send it, and all the talks and things that we have, we do it online, right? So the world has changed drastically from 3, 4 years ago, where this to me, or a lot of people would never imagine this, like especially in our industry, in the mining engineering industry, where it was always a requirement to be in the field, to be there, to see it, to see things in person. It's not really the case anymore.
Mm,
But yeah, to just kind of like summarize it, I've been working in the industry for uh, 15 years now, and I always had this love and passion for languages, for traveling, for different cultures. So this is like a side project which just kept growing. And I think a lot of people who watch my videos and only know me through YouTube are not aware that I actually work full time as an
mm,
engineer. and I just do this because I love it. It's fun. It's something that I enjoy, and especially the fact that it brings people from different backgrounds closer together. That's something I always love and enjoy as well. So yeah, it's a hobby, but it is a hobby that uh, I really love, and I intend on keeping it going for many more years.
Yeah. So now it's 2023. So you started 6 years ago. How many episodes do you have currently? Do you remember?
Uh, to be honest, I don't know how many videos I've made in total.
Yeah.
I don't have I just know like kind of I can tell you about like how the channel progressed
Hmm.
since then. So 2018, like the year after, so about a year after, I would say, we made the first video is when I started to see like a significant growth where it's like, okay, now you have thousands and thousands of subscribers, whereas, before it was just like, maybe like a 1,500 to 2,000, right? And then uh, in 2019, the channel kept growing. And then once COVID happened, it was sort of like a huge hit because it's like this pandemic put a dent on everything. Because the whole idea was to like, oh, we would get together, we sit down, people from different backgrounds, and all of that, right? But you can't do that anymore. So, which was kind of a blessing in disguise because I started to make videos online, which is something I never envisioned doing before. And it opened up, you know, this great opportunity of like having people from all over the world featuring endangered languages, featuring languages that people have never even heard of. Very few people have heard of them or something. Just and so many people that I've talked to, wonderful people that I've never met in person, but it was always their dream to be part of one of these videos and to be able to give them a chance to take part and for me too, be able to meet so many people from all over the world, learn about like these
Yeah.
uh, really, really small minority endangered languages that not many people know about. So yeah,
Can
that
you now name a few really rare ones that you remember now?
yeah, sure. Well, actually, I will name one that we just recorded recently, which is a Turkic language spoken in the north eastern part of Iran. It's Khorasani Turkic, and the number of speakers of that language is just going. The language is dying basically,
Hmm.
right? It's a language that um people, maybe not even Turkic people, like a lot of people, they never even heard of this, right? So this episode I haven't uploaded it yet, but we just recorded it recently. So that's the one that came to my mind right away. But there are many other ones, and it's just wonderful to have these languages featured because other people will learn about them. We bring more attention to these languages, and hopefully, this process helps to preserve the language. And if there are other efforts that can be taken to do that, it's even better. But at least we do something to be able to bring more attention and awareness about these languages, which I think should never be forgotten. And I really hope that they don't die.
Yeah. I guess in the beginning it was mostly like you said, you found people around Toronto, like friends and their friends and co-workers. But at what point did it change? Like, did you need to find the guests yourself, or did people start contacting you through email or commenting on the videos you had done? Or
I would say after like about a year and a half or 2 years of making videos, I was not actively looking for people anymore. Although if I came across somebody who didn't know about the channel and said, "Hey, I speak this language," I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting. Like, this is what I do. Are you interested? Maybe you want to be part of this." So yes, I did do that. I mean, but it wasn't as actively as before, where in the beginning I would like tell my friends and I would tell them, hey, if you know anybody who speaks a language, that and they're interested in this, please let them know. But I sort of stopped doing that. I would say I stopped even asking anybody uh, about a year and a half ago, because now I have this massive list of I think it's close to 2,000 people on this list who have contacted me,
Yeah.
and I made a huge spreadsheet. So the spreadsheet is like the name of the language, how to contact the person, any information they give me, all of that. And I have this sheet, and I keep trying to work through it to involve as many people as I possibly can. So when somebody comes and tells me, "Hey, why don't you reach out to this person and ask them to be," I'm like, I would like to, but at the same time, I really want to give as many people a chance as possible, when it comes to those who have reached out to me. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm not really like reaching out and trying to find
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
people unless they come to me and say, hey, I speak this language and I really love your videos and I want to take part. So I'm like, okay, great. I have you on my list and I really will do the best I can to get you involved.
Yeah. I'm yeah, I'm really jealous about your situation because I just started like almost 2 months ago. Like after I asked you about how you record your episodes, I started maybe a few days after that recording my own episodes. So do you have any estimation how many different languages you have had on your videos this far?
Well, first thing I do want to say something about what you mentioned. As for yourself, because I love what you're doing. We've chatted before, and I think you have a lot of potential. So don't think that okay, I started this a few months ago, and it's when is it gonna pick up? Don't give up. Keep doing what you love. And the same goes with other people who want to make videos about a subject or topic that they're interested in. Keep it going because you have a talent, you have something special, and don't think that it has to grow to something really big right away. So that's one thing I just wanted to say. So it's like keep doing this wonderful work. And as far as the question about different languages, oh, honestly, like I don't know if I can have a proper count, but probably
In the hundreds, or in
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
thousands, maybe.
No, I wouldn't say thousands, but
Yeah.
but yeah, a couple of hundred for sure. 100, over 100, definitely.
Yeah.
Because I mean, a lot of times we are comparing languages which I've had before, right? So it's not always
Mhm.
a new language.
Yeah.
So you see, like a lot of the videos are uh, between two languages which were compared to other languages before,
Hmm.
right? So, but it's always a lot of fun and it's always very interesting and exciting for me when um, I feature a language that I haven't had before.
Yeah. And the thing that you said before, I totally agree. I think to be successful, you just need to like what you do and never stop. And uh, my goal is not never to stop. My goal is to continue until I'm like 100 years old and just keep going. And I'm actually doing this episode in this podcast in different languages that I'm conversational in. So actually, it's also like language practice for me. So
Nice.
I've got currently episodes in 9 different languages, and in the future, my goal is to make also in Persian, in other languages that I'm currently
Awesome.
practicing, but I think that's going to be in maybe 5 years, or I don't know. I have also so much other projects going on. I started learning computer science like a week ago.
Mm.
And we are having also a child soon with my wife. So there's a lot
Oh, wow.
going on. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's
Yeah.
wonderful news.
Thanks. How many children do you have? Was it two or
Two.
yeah?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
two. And then they've actually, Serena, my daughter, she's actually been part of a few videos. She's
yeah,
made like a short appearance. So,
I think I might have seen her.
yeah.
Do you or you and your wife speak Persian with your children or English?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, we always speak Persian to them, but when we are outside or when we're around people who don't speak Persian, we tend to switch to English, just because I just find it to be, yeah, I don't know. I just don't want to. I don't want them to think we're saying something, or I find it to be more polite. I don't know. I'm nothing against people who
Yeah.
don't do that, but when we are outside and we are surrounded by people who don't speak Persian, we speak English to the kids. But at home, it's just always Persian, exclusively Persian.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was curious about this because my like I'm a Finn, so my mother tongue is Finnish, and my wife is a Russian-speaking Ukrainian. So we want to raise our children to be like bilingual in Finnish and Russian, and maybe teach some Ukrainian later. So yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing how will they answer in Finnish always, or will they answer Finnish to me and Russian to my wife? But yeah, we will see it in the future how it will go.
Yeah, no, I think it's doable. To one suggestion that I can make is to have the children be interested in it, like
Mm.
our kids are interested in speaking Persian. I mean, my daughter, when she started school, she would come and tell me, like, how come nobody speaks Persian in my class? And I was like, oh, it's okay. You speak English, so speak. She's like, yeah, but sometimes I miss speaking Persian. I want to talk to someone who speaks Persian.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, you have other friends outside of school. You can talk to them. And then one day she comes and she's like, oh, I met somebody, and he's from Afghanistan. So they speak Persian with like it's a different dialect, different
Mhm.
accent and everything. So she was telling me like, oh, I found a friend and I speak Persian with him, but he says things a little different
Yeah.
sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, because he's speaking a different accent, right? So, they have the interest. Like we go to a playground, like sometimes she'll hear like other kids speaking Persian, and she gets excited. So she goes and tells them, "Hey, like I can talk to you." Not that I mean she speaks English perfectly fine, and
Mhm.
most of her friends are not Iranian or they don't speak Persian. So, it's just that she loves the language. She has that interest to want to speak it, and not just with adults, but also other kids. So as long as you get the children interested, and for them to have this love and interest in the language, it becomes easier because they themselves want to learn it and speak it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know it's doable. I have like three Finnish Mexican cousins, and they speak like perfect Finnish and also Spanish.
Spanish. Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
So I have now two final questions for you. These are like theoretical questions I asked many of my guests. The first one is, if you had the chance of picking from these two alternatives, which one would you pick? First one, speak. Would you rather speak 10 biggest languages of the world perfectly, or 1,000 smallest ones?
I would say ten biggest languages in the world, because if I speak thousands, I doubt I'd be able to actually speak them. It would
No, I
it would
mean,
like
if you would gain the immediately the like you had a genie who gave you the power of like
then.
speaking 1,000 smallest languages perfectly, or 10 biggest.
So okay, so I have a counter question to
Yeah.
that. When you say thousand smallest,
Smallest.
how small? Like
Uh,
how many people speak them?
so there are 6 to 7,000 languages in the world. So the top 1,000 smallest. So I think like number 6,000 to 7,000. I think they will have from one to maybe. I'm not sure how many speakers language number 6,000 has. Maybe in the thousands. I guess it will be from 1 to 1,000. I'm not sure about the statistics.
I would choose those smaller languages.
Yeah,
Uh, Even though, because I think with the ones that are the most popular languages, you can
yeah,
communicate with so many different people. But I think having a knowledge of those smaller languages uh, opens up this ability to be able to, you know, from my understanding, like a lot of
yeah,
these small languages are part of a bigger family of
yeah.
languages.
Mm.
So, for instance, this could be like a very, very small Semitic or Slavic language, and that will allow you to pursue learning other languages which are bigger. So I think having that knowledge of 1,000 small
Yeah,
languages will make it very easy for me to learn a lot of more popular or well-known languages. So I would go with that one for sure.
yeah. Even if you would lose all the languages that are not in these thousand smallest ones,
Well,
like
I hope I would be able to speak at least one language that is uh you know like as long as I can speak English or one language that I can be able to
okay.
communicate with the general population, right?
But would you change your mind if you would lose English and Persian because they are not in the top thousand smallest?
Yes, I would, because I
Mm.
wouldn't be able to walk on the street and talk to
Yeah, yeah,
anybody.
yeah. So if you can keep the ones that you speak now, you would pick thousand smallest.
Yes, at
Yeah,
least as long as I can keep English.
yeah, yeah. Okay. And the second one, would you rather speak all the languages, like perfectly speak all the languages, but you would lose your reading and writing skills? You would absolutely not be able to read or write. Or second option, you could read and write all the languages, also the ancient ones, uh, like on the ruins and everything, but you wouldn't be able to produce speech. You would understand, so you would have to write your answers to people. So which one of these two?
So so are we talking about all the languages in the world?
Yeah, yeah, all the languages in the world. You would,
I prefer to be able to speak them,
yeah, yeah,
because yeah, no, and that's primarily because I would be able to just strike a conversation with anybody on the spot.
yeah. But I guess you would lose your current job because you couldn't, wouldn't be able to read and write.
Y-
Would that be a
Yes.
problem?
Yes, that would
Yeah.
be okay, because I will spend some time to learn how to read and write.
I mean, if you cannot learn reading and writing, yeah,
I can never learn to read and write.
yes,
But what if on the second option, I'm able to read and write but not speak any
yes,
language?
yes. You cannot
But
produce any speech with your mouth.
but that would mean I also lose my current job, because I still have to communicate, and
Well, you could
I
write.
mean, yeah, it's true. I could say, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
I mean, we could avoid the conversations and say, okay, I have to write to you.
yeah,
No, I prefer to be able to speak. I'm
yeah,
a very talkative person, and I love to talk to people, and I'm very social. So no,
yeah,
I would not want to lose the ability to be able to talk. So
yeah.
I would go with not be able to read and write, and just be able to talk instead.
And do you have any idea what kind of job you would do then? Because you would have to find a new one.
Maybe I'll be a politician,
Yeah.
because you just have to talk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And here in the end, do you have anything to say about your language projects, your maybe language goals or goals with this YouTube channel, anything?
Well, I nothing in specific, but I do hope to keep this going for a very, very long period of time. In the future, once our children are a little bit older, we want to travel more, and I'd like to make some videos related to languages and cultures while traveling.
Mm,
So this is something that I envision and I keep in mind for the future. I would love to continue featuring endangered languages, languages which are not getting enough attention and people don't know about. So I want to keep that going. So these are the things that I foresee and would love for the future of the channel. And for people who continue to watch and enjoy these videos, I hope that this will keep going. I hope that you'll enjoy all the future videos as well.
yeah. Yeah, I live in northern Finland in Rovaniemi, so you're welcome to travel there. Me and my wife
Thank you.
will guide you there, and there are also
Thank you.
some indigenous languages, like
Mhm,
you
of
maybe
course.
know the Sami languages.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah,
Yeah.
you should definitely,
Absolutely.
yeah, you
No,
should,
and that definitely, no, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And um northern Scandinavia, actually. That area, I think, is unknown to a lot of people, because even
Yeah.
people who go to Sweden or Norway or Finland, they don't really go that far north unless they want to go see the Northern Lights. They don't
Yeah.
go like to explore the languages and cultures of that area. So I think it would be super wonderful to do that. And if anybody reaches out to me that speaks any languages native to that region, I would love to feature those as well. But it's a dream to be able to
Mhm.
come and actually see it and speak to people there myself. So thank you
Actually,
so much.
yeah, no problem. And I want to mention that actually not even Finnish people themselves know that much about the indigenous Sami languages, for example. Not
Yes.
many people know that we have three Sami languages in the north, and
Mm,
they don't teach us that much about the Sami people at school.
mm.
They speak more about the Aboriginals of Australia, for example. I cannot
Really? Yeah.
remember them talking almost anything. Maybe there was half a page about the Sami people when I went to school. So that's
Really?
something quite interesting. Yeah. So Finnish
Hmm.
people don't know that much about the Sami people.
So that makes it even more of an interesting subject to explore and
Yeah, and
and make videos about. Yeah.
I think maybe it's the same in Sweden and Norway. I'm not sure. I have to ask some Swedish and Norwegian
Mhm.
people. Yeah. Anyways, thank you for coming to my podcast, and hopefully we will see in the future, maybe here or in Canada or somewhere.
Of course, no, thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure, and I definitely hope to meet you here in Canada or perhaps one day in Finland. That would be super awesome. And
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for everyone for listening or watching, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye bye.
thank you. Take care.